I've got Amanda Barr, who heads up our in-life product management team. You might remember her from some of the propositions and outreach insights work that she's been doing over the last couple of years and helping me out with marketing as well. But I'm sure some of the other people on the line you'll also recognise the names of from events and engagement that we've been doing as well. We are recording the session for anyone who can't be here. We are aware it's the school holidays, so a number of people haven't been able to attend. The recording will be emailed to you directly from the GoToWebinar panel after the session, but we'll also be promoting it in newsletters and on the partner portal as well. And depending on the appetite for it, we might rerun the session or do another update in Partner Week, which is scheduled for the 15th of November this year. There's more on that in the newsletter coming up, along with a link to register for that, so watch this space. So for now, I'm going to hand over to Amanda and the team. They're going to run through the presentation, and then I'm going to come back with questions at the end. So thank you for joining us, and I will see you on the other side. Over to you, Amanda.
Thanks, Hannah. If you could move on to the first slide, that would be great. So good afternoon, everyone. As Hannah said, I'm Amanda Barr. I will have met a lot of you in the past over the last few years, and I am in this role now. So it's a new role, so you would have seen me in a different guise before, and I won't have been sat at home. So now I'm the in-life product lead, and I head up the team of the existing product managers, and we're here, as Hannah said, to talk to you a bit about our roadmap for the next 12 to 18 months. So I just want to point that out, really, that it is 12 to 18 months that we focus on within our team. You know, some of you may have joined the user engagement session yesterday, which is a lot more around what's coming in future. So, you know, that 3 to 5 year horizon. And our team are much more around delivering our existing products to the time and quality expected by our customers. So in lots of ways, we're about getting the products out the door. And if there's something going on with your current product and it's not meeting your expectations, it's our team that is probably responsible and that you'll be talking to. So that's us, and as I said, it's about getting those products out the door. We're also very much focused on continuous improvement, and that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to give you a bit of a flavour as to what we are doing to improve the current portfolio. So you would have seen stuff already to date around the formats, and by formats, it's primarily vector tiles and geo packages that we've been releasing into the market. So you would have seen some open data products back in April, and then from October we will have some premium data products as well. Actually, for some of you, you would have also seen AddressBase Premium that was launched earlier, AddressBase Premium as a geo package that was launched earlier this month. In addition to formats, we'll touch on data consistency and data enhancements. And data consistency is more around you getting that authoritative and accurate data that you expect from OS, and data enhancements is very much about us delivering small improvements to the products that will drive the value now, but also into the future PSGA. So that 3 year, 5 year horizon, what we're doing now can add value in that in those products as well. The other sort of areas that our team focus on are the support and enablement for the actual products. We manage all of the products through the life cycle, and support and enablement is obviously a key aspect of that. We have a couple of technical writers in our team who do a great job of updating our documentation. So you might have noticed that over the probably the past 6 months, we've updated quite a few of our documents, the product documents themselves, and we've also done things like introduce a couple of new documents. So one of those being how to get started with GeoPackage. In terms of enablement, probably most of you haven't seen this, but we have been doing work around updating our product web pages and trying to increase the, I suppose, the awareness around our product portfolio. So there's lots of aspects around enablement. Today is obviously one of those aspects around enablement as well. And the final point there around customer experience improvements. A number of you who are on the call will be included in our annual perception survey, which takes place annually, as it says, and we capture a lot of feedback from that, and we prioritise that feedback. So an example of that might be that we've been asked for us to respond more rapidly to technical inquiries, and we will look to address that and look at our processes, or other aspects that we've tried to address this year are around our technical documentation. So we very much listen to the customer feedback, we respond to it, and we prioritise that feedback that we get, and that's a big focus for our team, listening to you guys. So please do make sure that you are feeding back, and that will feed into the more tactical activity that we're doing now to meet your needs. So that's us, that's the team. I'm going to hand over to each of the product managers in turn, and they're going to go through their portfolios, the first of which is Sadie, who's responsible for addressing.
Thanks, Amanda. Hi, everyone. So I'm Sadie Harriott. I am, as Amanda said, I manage the addressing portfolio. I've kind of taken on this role in the last 6 weeks, so I might be a new face to many of you, but I'm looking forward to really getting stuck in and taking on the portfolio. So I'm sure this isn't new to anyone, but kind of AddressBase as a product family is all around creating a complete and authoritative data set across the United Kingdom, with each address being identifiable uniquely by the UPRN and carrying those accurate location coordinates. So our address products take data from a wide range of sources, curated by GeoPlace, and brings information from local authorities, Royal Mail, Improvement Service, Valuation Office, and also includes data from Land and Property Services Northern Ireland, Isle of Man, and the Channel Islands, in order to create that real kind of UK picture of addressing through our AddressBase and our AddressBase Islands products. If you go to the next slide, please, Hannah. Thank you. So a really wide range of use cases that our addressing data can be used for. So I've listed some kind of quick high-level ones here. So addressing data being used for emergency response, logistics and transport, asset management in energy and infrastructure sectors, the kind of financial services, insurance and banking sectors, and also e-commerce. And if you go to the next slide, please, Hannah, I've just pulled out a kind of slightly more in-depth case study on one of these use cases, and this builds on a case study that we did with Addresscloud earlier in the year, and how address data has supported their work on last mile delivery, and specifically around that UAV last mile delivery in a project they were doing called LandSafe, to look at the kind of the feasibility of landing sites at each address. So by using the kind of accurate rooftop level coordinates from AddressBase, they were able to pinpoint for each address its precise location. They also linked a range of other data sets, so the Inspire polygons from the Land Registry, and they looked at height data from Terrain 50, alongside that building polygon from OpenMap Local, to really kind of, along with other data sets that they hold, to really kind of build a picture for the feasibility of a landing site for UAV drones, for that delivery use case for each address, and being able to pinpoint that down to each address rather than a more aggregated area was something that they really focused on with their expertise and building out that solution. So yeah, so a lot of kind of really interesting use cases on the go at the moment in that address space. And if you go to the next slide, please, Hannah. So yeah, really the kind of point of today is to touch a bit more on some of the product improvements coming for address in the next 12 to 18 months. So really our focus at the moment is around those continuous data quality improvements. And we've got 5 key areas. So the first being around improving the accuracy and completeness of local authority organisation name attribution in the address. So this is really about working with local authorities, working with some additional third-party data sources to really improve the completeness of that field. So making sure that as many organisation names as we can are being captured, and also improving the accuracy of that field. So really focusing on improving some validation in order to make sure that the organisation name is correct and standard, and kind of working off a standardised list that we're pulling together for organisation names to improve that representation in product. We're also looking at tertiary classification uplift, and our focus for this year is on those residential tertiary classifications. So we're really trying to uplift as many secondary classifications as we can to build out that granular tertiary level detail in product, and mean that we're kind of getting as much as possible that completeness of tertiary information, as opposed to having a mix of secondary and tertiary. So really trying to uplift as much as we can to tertiary for residential this year. We are also looking at improving our life cycle data capture. So this is a real focus on reducing the time that it takes when a address changes from provisional to live, or from in construction to live, and focusing on really reducing that amount of time it takes to deliver that out in product. So we're kind of looking at a range of ways that we can bring about some more change intelligence in order to really bring that life cycle information and that plot to postal transition as soon as we can, and almost, you know, as soon as it happens in the real world, to get that into our addressing data to give you kind of most up-to-date view of plot to postal changes. Number 4 is all around increasing the completeness and accuracy of level data in product. So the building floor level that an address is located on. We are building out, working with local authorities to improve coverage across England and Wales. Level data is already mandatory in Scotland, so focusing on that England and Wales completeness. And we're also looking at standardising more how we capture that level data, so that it's easier in that attribute for partners and customers to kind of interrogate and analyse that data. And finally, we're maintaining some continuous improvements around coordinate location accuracy in AddressBase. So OS surveyors are currently doing a lot of work around validating coordinate positions in the field, where a coordinate may not be sitting inside a master map topography layer building, and referring them for uplift if they are found to need any improvement. If you go to the next slide, please, Hannah. So in terms of new formats, as Amanda's mentioned, we've just released in the last epoch 86, that was on the 5th of August this year. We've just released the AddressBase Premium Geo package, and that's part of our wider piece of work on new formats and bringing out formats that are more usable to customers, are a bit more plug and play. So the AddressBase Premium Geo package is now available on OS Orders and in the OS Data Hub. And a kind of another piece of work we've got going on around Geo package for this year is reviewing the ordering of UPRNs. So we've received some feedback that on occasion some UPRNs can be truncated depending on which kind of third-party software you're using to process those. So we're looking at reviewing that ordering in order to create a lot more, to reduce any instances of UPRN truncation, and mean that there's, you know, it's just easier for customers to load the addressing products in. That's it from me as a bit of a summary on address. So I believe I'm passing to Tori next to talk about points of interest and code point.
Thanks, Sadie. Hi everyone, my name is Tori Hubbard and I'm going to provide an overview of our location portfolio. So next up we have points of interest. So the points of interest product is a comprehensive location-based directory of public and privately owned businesses, educational institutions and leisure services in Great Britain. It contains around 4 million records, which are sourced and quality checked from over 100 leading listing suppliers. It's updated 4 times a year, so you'll always be working with current information. And can I have the next slide, please? Thanks. So points of interest enables you to do many things, such as identify places by their use and function, as well as by their postal address or location. So each record also contains a telephone number, web address and brand where appropriate. You can see commercial addresses for organisations across Great Britain, including phone numbers and web addresses for major businesses, as over 45% of points of interest records are for businesses. You can use the detailed company classifications linked to addresses to conduct detailed competitor and site analysis to help you identify the potential location of your next high street outlet. And you can access information on the following themes. We have accommodation, eating and drinking, commercial services, attractions, sport and entertainment, education and health, public infrastructure, manufacturing and production, and retail and transport. So it therefore has multiple use cases, and some of the more common ones are listed on the slide here. So we have things such as business directories, where's my nearest searches, emergency planning, building use classifications, emergency service gazetteers, and tourist information. And a more specific use case during the recent pandemic, points of interest data helped users to extract and identify key infrastructures like hospitals and doctors' surgeries, essential services like supermarkets and chemists, hotels, banks and businesses, as well as playgrounds, parks and outdoor spaces for sport and exercise. And as I mentioned before, points of interest data includes more than 4 million features with identifiers to allow matching to other OS datasets, including AddressBase, OS Master Map Topography Layer, and OS Master Map Highways Network to make them easier to share and combine, which in turn enables more data analysis and faster decisions to be made. And an example of this is where points of interest data was used in combination with AddressBase to identify all shops allowed to remain open during lockdown, ranging from supermarkets and newsagents to pharmacies and cycle shops. So this not only provided information to the vulnerable about proximity of essential services, but also helped police to manage their resources more effectively. And can I move on to the next slide, please? So then moving on to the CodePoint products with their product vision statement, which is to precisely locate over 1.7 million postcode units across Great Britain to support detailed analytics and visualization. And we have 3 products within the CodePoint product family, and they consist of CodePoint, CodePoint Open, and CodePoint with polygons. And then the next slide, please. So this next slide highlights some of the upcoming CodePoint product improvements over the next 12 months. So as part of our drive to release more products in formats that our customers have asked for and that are easier to use, we're releasing CodePoint with polygons in GeoPackage and vector tile formats from October 2021. This then ties in with the release of our CodePoint product in GeoPackage format, also from October 2021. And in response to feedback on the usability of the CodePoint product, we're also making an improvement to the way that we format the postcode attribute. Currently, we allow variable spacing, which requires post-processing to get to the commonly used single-pace format. And from the CodePoint release in August 2022, we're changing that attribute formatting so that all of our postcodes are represented with a single space between the encode and the outcode. This will then bring CodePoint, CodePoint Open, and CodePoint with polygons in line with the representation of postcodes in our addressing products. And in order to facilitate this, we'll be withdrawing the NTF postcode format, also from August 2022, to allow this product improvement to happen, as NTF will not support the variable spacing. So that's it from me, and now I'll hand over to Rebecca.
Yeah, thanks, Tori. So good afternoon, everyone. My name's Rebecca Taylor. I'm going to be talking to you about the kind of 2 key products in the network's portfolio today, so the Highways Network and the Water Network. The portfolio also includes the Detailed Path Network and a range of open products as well. So to start with the OS Master Map Highways Network then, this is the most detailed and accurate routable road network dataset, which is consistent right across Great Britain. We pull data from a range of authoritative data sources for this product to provide a common highways dataset that you and your customers can trust. So our 3 core products in this product family do integrate those range of data sources. So that includes the OS detailed surveyed capture from ourselves, as well as the National Street Gazetteer and the Scottish Street Gazetteer as well, with consistent key identifiers such as the USRN as well as the OS TOIDs to allow easy linking and sharing of data and use alongside our addressing and our topographic products as well. So if you pop to the next slide for me, please, Hannah, we'll just have a look at kind of the breadth of use cases that the Highways products support. So that includes kind of things like route optimization, right up to supporting the land and property life cycle. Although we don't hold the legal ownership status of a street, property valuations are often dependent on the maintenance status of a street as well. So that we do provide from the National and Scottish Street Gazetteers. One specific case study I'd just like to call out from the use of highways is the Emergency Active Travel Fund. So that's providing a response to the COVID-19 pandemic by supporting temporary and permanent as well projects to make walking and cycling routes safer, and improving infrastructure for that across the country. One example of how Highways is supporting this initiative is through our partner Road Safety Analysis and the Agilicis team. They've created the Active Streets Assessment tool using OSMM Highways combined with some of their own data, which really enables local authorities to quickly assess their active travel network and make better, more informed decisions on that. So the next slide then, please, just shows some of the ways that we're kind of continually investing in this in-life product family. So hopefully you're all aware, and I've mentioned it already, the addition of the Scottish Street Gazetteer information into Highways that happened in March of this year. But also quite recently, we've improved road classification information, and reducing the level of unknowns we have in that space by around 23,000 road links that went in this last August release of Highways, and that's kind of an ongoing focus for us as well. Some of the other things that is currently ongoing or under development with Highways is a real sort of focus around improving the manual matching between OS data and the National Street Gazetteer data to really improve that alignment that we have in the street network. We, as others have mentioned, are looking at new product formats. So GeoPackage and vector tiles will be coming for Highways very soon. There's a real focus, and we've heard from a lot of our partners and PSJ members as well, that road routing restriction information is really important to you. So we have got a focus on that. We're currently kind of auditing and assessing what our next steps will be to improve that data in terms of kind of the consistency and the coverage we have there. So that's going to be a real focus for the next 12 to 18 months for us. We're also currently improving the coverage of tracks and paths, including nationwide, for those features. Tracks is ongoing, so they are being bulk loaded every month as we speak, and that is near completion, and paths will kick off very soon. And in addition to that, just a final one is we are improving the kind of coverage, the calculation of the road width information in Highways as well. Okay, so if we pop to the next slide, Hannah, we'll just have a look at the water network. So the OSMM Water Network then is a highly detailed and heighted digital representation of all the watercourses across Great Britain. So it shows the flow and the precise course of every river, lake and canal. And that product, again, it offers consistency right across Great Britain with kind of continuous updates and very extensive coverage across those seamless boundaries. So on the next slide, please, Hannah, I've just highlighted again some of the kind of key use cases that we recognise with this product. You can see some of those called out on slide there. It's worth highlighting. We do a lot of work with the national environmental bodies for the water network. They are quite major users of this product. So recently the Environment Agency worked with Natural England and the Devon Wildlife Trust in the initial stages of the reintroduction of beaver trials in the UK. So they used the water network to identify sites in that trial area that had the potential to be negatively impacted by beaver activity, and outlined a mechanism for monitoring those key Environment Agency assets for signs of beaver impacts and others as well. Okay, so my final slide, please, Hannah, is just to look at what improvements we're doing for the water network currently. So a lot of this is driven directly from customer feedback. So a lot of the things we've completed across the last sort of 12 months has been around that consistency and enhancements to data, as Amanda was talking about at the start. So we've been looking at kind of the consistency around things like duplicated links and the watercourse form attribution, as well as removing any uphill water links as well to ensure that connectivity throughout the product. Again, we're looking at new product formats for the water network. So GeoPackage and vector tiles as well will be available for this product. And then otherwise, we're again looking at improving the coverage and calculation of the river width information. as well as having a real focus around what happens at the tidal zone at the water network level. So kind of interactions or extensions that we need to make at mean high water. We will be looking at that in the coming months. Okay, so that's all from me. I will pass over to Richard to talk about the topographic layers.
Hi everyone, I'm Richard Beacock. I look after the detail portfolio here. I'm going to talk about, as Rebecca said, the topo layers within the product. So the topographic layers, you'll all be aware, are a reflection of the real world landscape within Great Britain. So I think I was told if you could walk into it or walk over it, it's going to be featured in the Ordnance Survey map. We currently have over 500 million features, all fully attributed and uniquely identified by the point, line or polygon within the data sets. These are captured either from the air, from the ground, and also from various third-party sources as well. What you have is just a really rich data set. So the three layers we're looking at overall would be our topography layer, our green space layer, our sites layer, and on top of that we also have a building heights attribute which gives a 3D view of buildings within the topography layer. Okay, next slide please, Hannah. So use cases, there are infinite numbers, anything to do with land, anytime you buy a house, anytime there's any sort of planning, be it agricultural or utility services, the uses are infinite, either by appending your own data to Ordnance surveys or by building your own data set using various Ordnance survey products. So I'm going to run through it quickly. We can accurately record and position assets. Property planning, as we said, if you buy a house, you're going to use Ordnance survey data. Risk assessment, so property management, insurance companies, they'll assess your flood risks if you're in a high crime area, all sorts of various risks, and there's some fascinating work going on around various industries using that at the moment. Utility management, certainly within urban areas. Promotion of health and public green spaces is something we're seeing an awful lot more of, and we're engaging with various local authorities and governments, which I'll get to in a second. But our green space product is really a big focus at the moment. Environmental management, certainly within tide lines, that's got an increased focus as well, and companies now being far more environmentally aware. Through it works for them in every regard. Emergency services efficiencies, we tell them how to enter the building. They can estimate how many people are going to be inside a building. Certainly sort of post Grenfell as well. The topography data has really been used. And then regeneration projects, and building heights is used quite a bit for radio signal calculations. If there's if it's a built up area, those companies use that data to build their knowledge space. Have the next slide please, Hannah. So product improvements, the big one is it's one you wouldn't have noticed in the data, other than it's just far richer. There's no use change to it, but all category A changes will now appear within the data within 3 months of completion, as opposed to 6 months before. What this means is the second a house is, you can live in a house, or a building or a structure is fit for purpose, it will appear within the OS data set within 3 months, which is, if anyone who knows anything about how this data is built, that's a massive operational task. In doing that, we have to get someone out, register the building, and then to have that built within the data within 3 months. What this means is the data you receive is far more up to date for the items that most important. So that's your residential buildings, telecommunication masts, all functional sites, schools, factories, all in there within 3 months after they're completed. We're also continued improvement, as Amanda said right at the outset, ongoing improvements within the data, cleansing it. So where we've had issues of duplicated toys, that's now in the past. And anyone who sort of reads the release notes for these will realise that, you know, given the scale of the product, there's very few errors coming through on that. Ongoing improvements, split line enhancements, so where we would essentially have two features where it's only one on a line, we're now joining those together as corrections. Enhanced parks and green spaces data, we're taking a lot of feedback from our customers, certainly within the leisure industry, on the details of the parks. They're not all council or government owned now, they're privately run. So we're engaging with several third parties and improving that data set there. Also with that, we're looking at various ways we can vastly improve our tidal lines as well, which, as you can imagine, is incredibly hard to capture. Certainly, you know, if you can capture a low tide with aerial imagery, you have to be flying over at the exact right time of day. So these are all going in. There'll be gradual improvements. Some will be wholesale, and we'll obviously let you know when that's going through. So that's me done. I think I'm passing on to Nicole now.
I think it's Amanda.
Sorry, it'll be Amanda first. Apologies.
That's okay. It's only Amanda very briefly. So I'm just going to touch on the contextual portfolio. And the reason I say very briefly is because we would normally have a dedicated product manager for the contextual portfolio, but we're currently in the process of recruiting. So most of you will probably be aware of this portfolio. It's the detailed and accurate cartography, I can't even say that word now, mapping to provide a contextual backdrop with customizable styling options. You'll be familiar with our VML product, our 25k raster and our 50k raster. So they're the premium products, and obviously we have the open products as well, including OML and Open Zoom Stack. As you know, as is evident, contextual, yes, they're used a lot for backdrop mapping, and the use cases specifically, there's a lot in the leisure market, but yeah, for any sort of backdrop mapping and visualization. Hannah, could you move on to the next slide, please? So I just wanted to touch on what the improvements were. So following the theme of new formats, VML will be released in vector tiles later in the year. And then also 25k and 50k will be released as GeoTIFFs. Again, just to mention, you know, the product formats is all about making our products more usable, and this is very much based on feedback that we've had from the customers. We are making some improvements as well. So to VML, we are looking at a variety of building classifications and also named extent areas. Those changes you'll see sort of filtering in the next 12 to 18 months. And I think that's very similar across all the portfolios. You know, some of them you will have seen now, some of them you will have seen in the last month or so, and then it will be into the next 12 to 18 months as we move into the new PSGA. And now we'll hand over to Nicole. Hopefully.
Hi everyone. I hope you can see me on the camera as well. Cool. Hi, my name is Nicole Humph, and I'm going to talk to you guys a bit about our imagery and height products. Our height products include Terrain 5, which is our detailed digital terrain model of Great Britain, and it's available as a grid of heightened points and contours at 5-meter intervals. Another product we have is Terrain 50, which is a free-to-use topology GIS dataset that will help you visualize simple landscapes in 3D, and it helps bring your geographic analysis to life. So these products have very interesting use cases. For example, fly-through models, you can use the height products to see that, as well as highways and pipeline planning, as you can see the terrain in Terrain 50 or in Terrain 5. And as Richard mentioned before, you can have an interference in radio wave analysis for both buildings or from hills and other different terrain. So you can use our terrain products for that as well. If you move to the next slide, please, Hannah. Another product that we work with in this portfolio is the imagery layer for when you need a visual feel for the location where you are or where you're working at. It's the aerial photography of OS master maps. The imagery layer gives you a real world view. It's a high quality, seamless imagery of Great Britain. At 25 centimeter ground resolution, the imagery layer is ideal for detailed observation, as well as field survey replacement, vegetation cover, and tree locations. You can see that on our imagery layer, and land use identification. So in the next slide, please, we can see some of the improvements that we're working on in this portfolio. Our flying program covers the whole of Great Britain, flying over specific areas at a time to ensure that your images are always up to date and of very high quality. As many other industries on the previous year, due to the pandemic, our flying was affected and the capture of the images wasn't as fast as it normally is. But for this year, we hit the ground running, and we started as strong as ever in 2021, and we're already ahead of our normal schedule, providing you and your customers with even more accurate images. Another improvement that we're working on in the next slide, please, Hannah. Yes, is the definitive grid, is another improvement to our imagery product that we're working on, is the creation of this definitive flying grid to improve the areas we captured data, especially around the coast. So we want to bring you even more detailed images for our customers. As you can see in this image, I'm showing you here the difference between high and low tide when the image is captured. So we want to reduce these errors or improve even more the detail of the images that you can have on our new grid. So I'll pass it back to Amanda. Thank you very much.
Thanks all. Hannah, if you can move to thank you, Hannah. So thanks to the team. What I would say is you probably will have seen some of our faces before and thinking, well, they're not the last people that I saw in those roles. And there has been quite a lot of change. So just to give you, Sadie mentioned she's been in the role for 6 weeks, responsible for addressing. Tori's only been in the business OS for only 4 weeks, and Nicole's recently taken on the Imagery and High portfolio. And we're recruiting into the Contextual. So there's a lot of change going on within our team. So that's really one of the key reasons we also wanted to share with you, so you can understand who you should reach out to. Obviously, you can reach out to your account managers, and we have really close relationships with Stefan and the team, so they can always get in contact with us, but you are free to reach out to us. But yeah, remember that we are a relatively new team, which is why you maybe not seen our faces before. If you do want to find out more about any of the products, we have just updated the web pages, but I'd imagine most of you know more than we do about the products because you're using them every day. So you already have all that information, but we have just updated all the product pages. There is a link on the product pages to the product roadmap, which we do try to keep up to date, but it's obviously very difficult to have the level of detail that we can get from a webinar. And I don't want to spoil Hannah's thunder with regards to the Meet the Product Management sessions. So perhaps I'll open it up to questions and Hannah can wrap up with that at the end.
Thanks, Amanda, and thanks to the rest of the team. So yeah, Amanda, great segue there. We are going to do a bit of a pilot of a Meet the Product Management team session. And the thought behind this is that we've obviously missed out on face-to-face networking over the past year, 18 months. And although we're not quite back there yet, we are going to put on a session at 10 AM on the 30th of September. There was a link in the last part of the newsletter, and there'll be one in the one at the beginning of September. But the idea about this is that it's a short session, 20-minute update on a particular portfolio, and we're starting with addressing just because it's a hot topic for partners. And then it's an open Q&A. It's an opportunity to ask questions of each other, of the product teams, to throw some ideas around, some comments, some thoughts on the latest releases, the latest improvements, or the upcoming things. So I really would encourage you to register for that session. As I said, it's a pilot. If it works, you like it, we like it, then we'll roll it out to other portfolios. It also gives us an opportunity to pick up some topics that you might be interested in discussing in our Partner Week, which is happening in November, and also some really future thinking when it comes to a physical event, which I'm hoping to put on at the end of April 2022. So keep that in mind as we close up this webinar. Have you got any questions? Is there anything that has been shown today that was a surprise to you or welcomed, or you think, oh, I said that X many months ago when I met with so-and-so, and now it's come to fruition? Is there anything that you want to raise with our team? Anything you want to discuss offline more? Then do pop a question into the panel. We're not going to force you to talk to us now, but obviously you can get in touch with the team through the usual channels, either through your account manager or through the webinars email address, which is webinars@os.uk. If you've got any ideas about future webinars, future sessions, either face-to-face or virtual. Partner Week will be entirely virtual this year. We were hoping to have a few face-to-face sessions, but we think it's probably a bit too soon for everyone. But we are, as I said, hoping to do a face-to-face in April. One comment here is that it's good to see increasing adoption of vector tile and geopackage formats. So thank you very much for that, David. This is something that came up probably over 2 years ago, actually, when we did a formats review, and a lot of partners did kind of feedback into that program, and we've slowly been adding those formats to our wider portfolios, and it's really great to see the uptake of usage. If you've got any use cases, any case studies with real life human customers that you'd like to showcase, then drop me an email. We can whiz up a case study or a blog or something and both promote you and that usage. That's something that's always open to partners, whatever the product, whatever the use case. As long as we've got the permission from the customer and yourselves, then we're more than happy to produce case studies that we'll then promote through our marketing and also give you access to the information as well. I know a number of you on the line have already done that and already looking for other stories. So if there aren't any other questions, I'm not going to force you to listen to my voice for another 15 minutes. So I'd suggest that we close the webinar here. Thank you very much to our associate product managers and Amanda as well for preparing the webinar. We will be putting more of these on in the future. So if there's anything that you would have liked to see or that you did enjoy seeing, that you want us to delve a bit deeper, drop me an email and let me know so that we can build that into our calendar. I look forward to hopefully interacting with you during Partner Week, if not before, and hopefully, fingers crossed, see you at the Partner Conference in April next year.